Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with today's trading action. All right, now it's been one of those weeks, very quiet, no major releases. The FOMC minutes was the focus, and you know what? The movements in the market don't really match up with what is going on. So this is normal price action in a sort of trending market. You get the sort of trend coming down almost as it hits the weekend or a major event. You get a bit of a correction, but see how the dollar or a lot of these movements haven't really gone anywhere, right? And if anything, the good thing about, and this is why a trend continues, is you get these little corrections back down through sort of support, right? What that does is it flushes out the weak shorts or the weak longs in this situation, and then it sort of kicks back into gear. Now, the dollar, like, let me just come back to sort of the news. So you just understand what's going on now. Powell is going to be speaking over the weekend at Jackson's Hole, right? A big symposium. The central bankers get together and they'll come out with maybe a joint communique or whatever it might be. But you know what? So the minutes came out. There wasn't really any surprises. In actual fact, if I just come back to the Discord, Mo had a really good point here and posted this up. You know, the Fed, majority of participants said risk to the employment goal had increased. Many noted risk to inflation goal had decreased, right? That's exactly where the Fed is, right? And that tells us a lot about what's going on. So the movements here, I think they're just normal price action. We'll see the dollar continue down, like euro, a little bit of flush to the downside and back up. And why do I think that? If I just have a look at the risk reversals, right? Now, this is sort of where the movement is in the options market from puts to calls. Now, if you're looking at the 1 month and 3 month euro, they're covering the risk on the top side. They expect euro to be higher, right? That's where the action is. And this is a really good reflection of what's going through the market. Sterling also, likewise. Now, Aussie and Kiwi and dollar Swiss is the same to the downside, but Aussie and Kiwi, you know what? Not really going anywhere. They're sort of caught up between what the US dollar is doing and the weakness in China and the local domestic weakness. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens. But this sort of confirms to me when I look at my charts and go, hang on, what's going on with euro? Yeah, it's going up, a little bit of a pause. Is it going to go down? I don't think so, right? The US fundamentals are the same. Risk to employment and the risks around inflation have decreased. Now, all you're doing is readjusting your trend lines, trying to find out where these levels are. Oil, I tell you what, this is a baffling one for traders of the CAD. Oil's at 70, almost 73 bucks. You got to think that supports a high dollar CAD. But you know what? We're in a sort of dollar weakness situation. To me, like dollar Swiss is trending great. Sterling is still sort of cruising topside. Dollar weakness is going to dominate. I still think that's the way to go. So keep an eye on your fries. There's nothing really to change. And the data yesterday, I mean, initial jobless claims, a little bit higher than the forecast, but like just a fraction. That's like a dollar. That's a weaker dollar outlook. The S&P global manufacturing numbers weaker. Like a lot of these numbers aren't doing a huge amount. Consumer confidence a little bit lower. Existing home sales probably a fraction higher. And that's sort of where we are. The data is rolling in consistently nicely for us. And that's all you're looking for. Now, looking through today's action, you got some retail sales data out of New Zealand, but you know, retail sales figures out of Canada and some new home sales out of the US. So really not a lot going on, right? Third week of the month, the data is on the table. Those US CPI numbers were weaker. Market's been flushed out. We're getting normal. This is like going back to the 90s. This is how the market flowed. You get the down move, you get a little drift through resistance at the end of the week, and then it continues down the following week, right? So you got to get some confidence around that. Now, just on that, it's like the US Treasury yields just up a fraction, right? And NASDAQ got a little bit pummeled. And this is where I think it could be just a risk-off day. Euro, sterling, Aussie, Kiwi were down. Now, these ranges have just been reset, so you can't see the sort of very clearly visually red for Euro, sterling, Aussie, Kiwi because they did go down on the day. Sterling sort of held in there. But, you know what? Just a bit of a correction. right? Yield slightly up. NASDAQ or the equity futures a little bit weaker. They'll correct during the Asian session. And I suspect we will start to see Euro, Sterling, Aussie, Kiwi higher and the dollar start to roll back against some of the other pairs, right? And that's pretty much all we've got to look for. You know, interest rate probabilities, no major changes here, no major data. We're still looking at the Fed cutting rates, obviously 75% of a 0.25, and the chance of a 0.5% cut, and this makes a lot of sense, back down to sort of 24 or 25%, right? And ECB, 98% chance of a cut. Bank of England, no change, edging up towards 72 or 73%. That supports a stronger dollar CAD there as well. All right, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, and there's not much else you can do. You can't make the markets move, right? You've got to be patient, wait for the opportunities, and wait for these trends to kick into gear. Just keep an eye on your daily charts, right? Because the dollar fundamentals aren't going to change anytime soon. So I'd be keeping an eye on these, looking to get into the bigger move, which will be like you can see here, Euro Sterling going up, and you can see, as I was saying about those risk reversals, Aussie and Kiwi sort of doing it tough to try and get some upside momentum, right? That's and dollar Swiss. I mean, there's a rush to puts for dollar Swiss. So the risk reversals, these sorts of things, they just tell you what's out there in the market, and this tells us where the raw side of the market is. Definitely top side Euro Sterling. Market's nervous about that, right? So that's what you've got to be looking for as you go forward. All right, guys, as it was, or as it is, not a lot of data, just relax. We're getting primed. It's almost the last week of the month, and then we can kick into gear with all the fresh data. Everything kicks in, trading opportunities galore. All right, guys, have a good trading day and a good weekend. Cheerio.